So show it. Don't make our heroes wait. In this parade, please wave your grades. It's a brave fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. For those of you who already do the things that make us proud, your nation in appreciation says thanks to you out loud. Your schoolmates should imitate the way you tap your potential. Let me try to convince them why their effort is essential. Our men and women in uniform, before, during, and after Desert Storm, always perform above norm. Anywhere on the planet, they need to follow our heroes' lead, but they cannot lead, they cannot read. Allow me, please, to plant this seed. Don't take freedom for granted. I'm serious. I'm furious to see U.S. schools behind. Remove the clatters, just a matter of our making up our minds. In this parade, please wave your grades. It's a brave fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. We believe in you, warriors. Protect you to do what you must to rise. Please do your part. Please start before another warrior dies. In this parade, please wave your grades. It's a brave fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. They sacrifice for you. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Please.
Good afternoon and welcome to Wave Your Grades on KUAW.org, the academic patriotism program that is dedicated to veterans and serious secondary scholars. I am your announcer, KUAW Wilson. Now, here is our host, civilian urban educator, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much, KUAW Wilson. Today's program will feature Paris Holly, someone with whom we partner as we are working with young people. And in studio, Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org and president of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association. And we are going to get Paris some information from Louis George Walker as to the best ways and means of using communications tools, technological tools. So that will be a major part of what we're doing. Before we move on, by the way, once again, my wife, wonderful Wanda, and I want to thank concerned clergy and the Oasis International Church and Pastor Michael Brooks, and a community of people who allowed us to share a program with. Evangelist Esther Holendorf, Brother Alvin Brooks, Brother Jim Nunley, last week at that church. And by the way, for those of you who participated in the screening showing of the documentary about Alvin Brooks by Kelvin Wilmart at the Armour Theater just a couple of days ago, my understanding is they're going to do it again on Monday. If you want to contact Alvin Brooks and find out when you can see his screening, his number is 816-719-0670. That would be Alvin Brooks, 816-719-0670 for the screening of a documentary about Alvin Brooks' life by Kevin Wilmot. I so appreciate Paris Holly. It is amazing to me how prepared you are always right at the spur of the moment when it might come up. And let me just say thank you and welcome to the program for your response to be with us this afternoon.
No problem, Mr. Boyd. It's always a joy to be here.
I appreciate that so much. let me tell you why. When you were asking about subject matter for today, I said Paris Holly. The reason is because, if I recall correctly, as Valencia brought us, introduced us, my association was with Paris Holly and the classroom, Paris Holly education, but
Yes.
there are a number of things that you not only deal with but expose us to as it relates to working with young people. So if I were to be presenting you at a special program introducing you and wanted to get the right title, what should I say?
Oh, that's a great one.
Well,
um,
give us some background.
well, I am a substitute teacher.
Yes.
I'm also a tutor. I tutor ACT because making sure our kids get into college is extremely important. We want to make sure they get those scholarships. I tutor math from the beginning all the way up to Calc 3.
Wow.
Um, I am also tutoring some more Spanish, reading, writing. Um,
My Lord.
yeah, I'm trying to make sure, our students are just very well rounded. I'm a student myself, so I'm getting my minor in mathematics as well as my civil engineering degree. Um, yeah,
Well,
I'm just kind
let
of
me tell
here.
you, DeQuay Wilson, Louis George Walker have to concentrate on the technology that brings us the program. So I don't know if you heard what Paris Holly was saying about background in education. But one of the things that you mentioned was tutoring math.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you how much I appreciate that, because before my wife and I returned to Kansas City from Chandler, Arizona, in
Mhm.
Phoenix, there was a position for a math tutor and mentor. And I
Mhm.
sought that position, and it required of me that I take the diagnostic test so that I would be prepared for math tutoring. And I
Right.
took it, and I found out that they were absolutely right. I did need a
Mhm.
math tutor because I had no idea what I was doing. So I appreciate you so very, very much. Not only that, but a particular foreign language or more than one.
I only help tutor with Spanish. I'm working on the French side, but I'm not there yet. I
My
still have a lot
Lord.
more that I need to do myself. And then of course with Smart Money, I help with their financial literacy piece so we can make sure our students and their parents, because they end up learning about it regardless, are put in position so that they are financially educated, because sometimes we don't know the simple aspects of our own finances. We just pay our bills and keep it pushing and make sure we're good to go. And we need to know the background so we're not just shooting ourselves in the foot. Um, and we're
Yes.
prepared, and we teach the next generation how to be prepared, and we don't have to keep recreating the cycle.
Now, if I looked ahead 5 years from now or whatever number, would I see Paris Holly college professor? Would you teach at that level? Would you be in a
Um,
classroom, or would it be another
so
variation?
I'm not really sure at this moment. I've done it
Hmm.
before. I
Okay.
used to help
Wow.
teach at MCC Maplewoods when they were starting to put
Outstanding.
some of their math classes online. Um,
Yes.
but I'm not really 100% there. I do like making sure students are aware, but it really depends on where my kids are going, because I'm still very much in the homeschool stage. And since they're in Montessori school, I want to see how we could continue to transition that appropriately throughout these next couple of years.
Well, I want you to know some of what we are talking about doing, not just with Wave Your Grades, which is our privilege based upon having the opportunity to work with Professor Dr. Bishop Lewis George Walker, but
Mhm.
also some of the things that DeQuay and I just talked about at our board meeting. So I will want DeQuay for you to elaborate or correct when I talk about some of the things we mentioned. But here is one thing that was very important in our meeting, and I want this to help guide our conversation, Sister Paris Holly, as it relates to working with young people. On each
Okay.
program, I asked Louis George Walker to inform our listeners as to how they can access this particular 1 hour vehicle once a week, Saturdays from 1 until 2 o'clock.
Mhm.
Today, I am asking where he thinks it might be helpful as he talks about accessing. How about some of those vehicles with which we are not totally familiar that Louis George Walker might say, now when you do this, this means this, or this gets us to this. Then I want to return to Paris Holly because of her being so close to young people as to how they access and cooperate with us. So, DeQuay Wilson, I say, and now here is Louis George Walker. Uh, this time, we'll give him whatever amount of time he needs to explain what we might not understand. Paris, I promise we'll be back with you by Tuesday.
All right, all right. We'll try and give this a short version. But good afternoon, and thank everyone for tuning in to KUAW Radio, which stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. This is a project of the WEB Du Bois Learning Center and the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, who came together to form this radio station. You can pick us up on Facebook and on YouTube. You can pick us up by going to KUAW on our Facebook page and KUAW Space Radio on our YouTube page. You can also listen to us on Get Me Radio, on Online Radio Box, on My Tuner. If you have a Bluetooth speaker, if your car can connect to your telephone, you just go to it and then search KUAW on any of your radio feeds, and it should find us, and you can listen to us as you drive in your car. KUAW Radio is on Apple and Roku, so you can pick us up on your televisions if you search KUAW Radio there.
Okay.
You also can use a smart speaker. If you have a Google or Amazon speaker, tell it to, or even tell Siri to play KUAW, and we'll come up on that. We're also being broadcast live at the Kansas City Jazz Foundation, KOJH 100.5 on the FM side. So if you're down there right now celebrating Juneteenth and
Yes.
what's going on, tune over to 100.5 and you can hear what's going on KUAW Radio. We broadcast 24 hours a day, and it's just a pleasure to be able to bring this news, this information to everybody that's listening right now. Now, is there anything else you want to know about it there, Mr. Boyd?
Or Paris.
Or Paris on connected to KUAW.
I'm
All
good.
right, all right.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you guys. And keep listening to KUAW Radio. Also, let us know what you think about the station. You can hit us up on Facebook, on YouTube, or email us and say that you listen to the station, that you've heard this.
yes,
You
yes,
can
yes.
email us at KUAW985@gmail.com. You can also go to KUAW-radio on Facebook and leave a comment, or even at the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, and leave a comment and say that you like it or that you want to hear something different or whatever. We'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Louis George Walker, for that lesson. As a matter of fact, Paris Holly was talking about working with metropolitan community colleges, and that would be the introduction to a course in technology and communications. So,
Yes.
and one of the reasons that I really looked forward to this conversation is because our Stoots for Boots board meeting was held 2 days before coming to the studio. And one of the things that I so appreciate when I'm talking to someone who has hands on with young people is someone who can say, now, as far as this particular avenue is concerned, our young people do not use this as much as they use that. Or,
Correct.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paris.
Oh, I was just saying correct.
So, as we look forward to the coming 2024-25 school year and wanting to have an ongoing relationship with young people, what are some of the kinds of vehicles, what are some of the kinds of ways that you are working with young people and might recommend that others work with young people?
So some of the ways that I'm working with young people, I'm utilizing different tools that can grasp them to still consider their education fun instead of just a mandatory. We're sitting here and constantly paying attention because students really do need to get up and have movement, especially depending on their age. They're not just supposed to sit there and
Yes.
stay focused. That kids are not built like that. They are balls of energy and they need to run around and shake off some of that energy along with learning. And as long as you make it interesting for them, whether they're in elementary school or high school or anywhere in between, you still need to make it fun for them and make sure that they're actively listening because some of these kids tune out. And then just because they tune out, they get looked at as if they're not paying attention or they don't understand something when they're highly intelligent. We just
Yes.
do not know how to get their attention because every student is not the same. Every student does not learn the same. Um, and letting them get their blood flowing is extremely important with their success. So for some of the elementary and middle school students that I'm working with right now, um, elementary is making it more interactive where,
Yes.
okay, well, let's utilize things that you guys see, that you guys are familiar with. If it's this is the thing my kids are really in right now. We have a lot of stuff with Spider-Man and Bluey at this portion of my life. Um, but they like money at the same time. So teaching them about it in ways that make sense to them. They like money, they want to buy stuff, they want the new Bluey toy or the new Spider-Man toy. Okay, well, we'll have our own money that you can make and you can be able to buy that toy. But do you know what the cost of a dollar truly is? And
Ooh.
expressing that to them. Same thing as some kids believe in the tooth fairy is the realest person out there. They're giving you money when you lose your tooth. Okay, well, how much money are you going to get? What can you buy with that? What is the
Yes.
actual price of a dollar? Because some kids don't know the difference. They're like, "Oh, I have $20. That is a $1 bill, kid."
Yes, ma'am.
And you can't get everything with that. So trying to teach them real life scenarios through their eyes. Some of my middle school students, we make it like an arts and crafts situation to where if we have like these foldables and we want to teach you something, turn it into kind of like a hide and seek game with the foldables. Well, if I open this one, what information will I get? I'm not sure if you guys remember the like little cootie catchers we used to do, where you have to flip it open and it gives you. So we kind of have these little foldables that we've made so they could learn something different. If you open this, does it go with that?
My Lord.
Some games that we've played are like dominoes. I played dominoes growing up. Well, we've made a math dominoes where it's like this equation plus this equation should equal this number. So then you're still keeping them interacted in ways that make sense to them, um, in games that they may play. And so we have another one that we've tried, which is a form of goldfish. Do you have this? If you have this equation, does it equal to this number? And if I say, hey, like trying to think, if 2 times 2, right? Do you have 2 times 2? They may not have exactly 2 times 2, but 2 times 2 equals 4. So if they have a 4, yes, they do have it. That's their match. They keep it going. Um, Again, I'm primarily math, so a lot of mine will be more math related. So I do that for the high school students. Some of them are getting jobs, so I'm gonna start circulating it more towards their finances in the sense of, okay, so do you have a savings account? You want to get a job, but are you going to save anything? Because once you spend it all on the shoes that might cost $250, um, do you know what taxes are? Do you know how that's going to affect you? Do you just have the money that the shoe says it costs, or do
Wow.
you have the extra for it to be there? Just making sure whatever you do relates to their life right now, or pick the top 5 categories and let them all, okay, what do you guys love the most? Let everybody write it down and then you pick it out. So then everybody has to work together in groups and teams and come up with different ideas and how can they help themselves, not just giving them all the answers because they have technology at their hands where they could get a lot of answers.
Well, now, I have a question for you. See if on this day, DeQuay Wilson and Louis George Walker let us see if Paris Holly is going to burst my bubble. I heard this week that in a particular school district, they outlawed phones. And I
Yeah.
thought, how wonderful, because in 1964, we didn't let them carry phones to our classroom. They would have had to unplug it from their wall and bring it and find a plug. It's
Yeah.
2024.
um,
How do you feel about that?
I think it's really hit and miss.
Uh-oh.
Um, hi. So for us, it would be a situation of if they can have phones, how could you make it work the best for them? So I don't think they should have phones because I don't think they pay attention. They will choose
Excellent.
to be distracted by something totally different. And it can be a useful resource, but it's really about how you get them to use that resource. And right now, it's more of a distraction than anything else. Um, Personally, I do think they should be allowed to carry their phones on their human only because of the type of things that are happening in this world. I would really prefer them to be able to access their parent or whoever may be with them or not be with them if it was a case of emergency.
DeQuay.
Um,
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, especially being a single parent or having been a
yes,
single parent with a child who had a cell phone in school, who wasn't supposed to have a cell phone in school, but that was our line of communication. I was all he had, he was all I had. And in the case of an emergency, I needed him to be able to contact me and vice versa. And I'm with you, Paris. I think the phones are a distraction, but because of what is going on right now in this world, and especially when you think about mass shootings and everything that's going on,
Wow.
our children need to have some form of communication to the outside world outside of those school buildings. So it kind of puts us in a situation like, how do we find balance? I agree, yes, they should have them on their person. However, they should be put away. They should not be out
correct,
for display to become a distraction.
correct. And I definitely was one of the kids. I got a phone at a relatively young age. I got a phone when I was in 5th grade, and my mom was very unhappy about it, but my godmom did not care. Um, and when I did have the phone, at some point it was a distraction. I was in class using my phone, and that didn't help me in the long run. So what I ended up doing after that was, okay, well I put it away, but this is something that I can do. Um, I could still do my work because if my mom's not home when I get off of school, I need to be able to call her and talk to her and let her know I made it home safely or whatever the case may be if she's at work. Um, and that was very helpful going forward. I do the same to my kids now. Though they don't have phones, they have iPads with service. So if they're with the babysitter, whatever the case may be, and they feel uncomfortable, they have the access to me that they would like. If they're uncomfortable, if something's not going, they could communicate and just say, hey, this is what it is. And if that's not the case, then we go from there. So then we could find a solution versus just assuming everybody is correct, because we are switching times and the generation is changing, and some of the older generation is still stuck in the you do as you're told, and a lot of these kids are a lot more outspoken and they're taught to speak up for themselves, and some of the older generation does not like it. Personal experience of my own that I'm dealing with right now with my son, because they're a Montessori school versus the regular um, school district, and they aren't taught the same. They're taught to get up. They're taught to help people, and depending on which generation of education that adult is in, they take it as disrespect instead of they take it as disrespect instead of that everything is all good to
Yes.
go in culture. Um, and when they do that, it makes it kind of difficult for the next student, um, because my son was told that he was disruptive, but in all forms of sports that he is in, you're told to hold your friend accountable. You know,
Wow.
if they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing, you correct them and you help them. And if
That
you
is.
correct and help them, then you go from there. But if you're told that you're just being bossy and telling other kids what to do, he thinks he's in trouble when he's not. He's doing what he was taught. You hold your peer accountable. And we bumped heads. Me and another teacher bumped heads because I was like, you get told I've been teaching for XYZ amount of years. Okay, so have I. Just
Yes.
because you're a teacher does not mean I'm not an educator as well. So is their father. And we just need to be able to meet in the middle versus the new teacher we found. She's like, oh, okay, I've taught kids like this, so this is what we do. And if I'm having an issue, I'm gonna speak with them because I understand they're more independent. You have to understand the students you're working with and how that goes. Um, Not just label them based on your own understanding. Life is a lifelong learning piece, continued education, and we have to go from there.
Now, let me say this before we go to our break. Um, at my age, I can still appreciate precisely what you're saying about, for instance, the phones. And interestingly enough, while I would be on the side of the phones not being available while we are matriculating in class, I have actually seen a couple of situations where the use of the phone has been helpful in research. So
Correct.
it's not all negative all the time, but it is unfortunate that the reason it is so essential is because of things that are going on that are not positive. I would like for
Well,
yes,
I hate to interrupt you, but sometimes it's not about it being positive or negative. It's about how the person is able to monitor the situation at hand.
mm,
So if you know all these kids have phones and you feel like phones are such a distraction, why not incorporate them into what you're doing if you feel like it's going to be that much of a distraction? What I do with some of the students who I tutor, like they can't have their phones. Okay, fine, you can't have your phone. But if you do have your phone, you're not going to put it away. I'm going to put it to work. I'm going to put it to use.
exactly. I've seen that and been a part of exercises like that before.
Yeah, like, okay, well, if you guys don't want to put your phone away and focus, I'm gonna have you use your phone. So like some of the stuff we do with smart money during our summer program, or we have our career kitchens, and our students have to be able to come up with a budget for whatever they're making and know how much they're spending. And if you go to the store, this is what we're buying. Well, what do you want to buy? They give us a list. Okay, well, go look it up. How much does this cost?
Yes.
How much does that cost? And then uh, they have to look it up on their own. Well, where would you shop? Don't look at it based on where we're going. Where would you go? Where would you go to find this? They have to still use their brain, their resources, and what they have. And they're like, if they were to say, oh, I don't know what store I would go to. Okay, well, if you don't know what store you would go to, look up what stores are around.
Wow.
You have to be able to navigate the technology you have because sometimes they don't know how to do that either. They know how to do the stuff that they were shown, which is play a game or text or whatever the case may be. And these phones do so much more than that. They're just mini computers.
Well, let me ask that you stay with us through the break as you um, consider this question, and you can answer it for me on the other side. But the question is, with all that you do with young people, do you also have the occasion or would you accept the opportunity to tutor educators themselves, to tutor the teachers who are working with the young people with whom you are so familiar? We'll be right
Hmm.
back. Here is DeQuay Wilson.
It is time to remind our 7th through 8th grade students that you can win a monetary award from our sponsoring organization. Yes, we do say organization on purpose with purpose. Students for Boots. Your essay title will be Heroes You Know You Didn't Know Were Heroes. Your content will identify a veteran at your school who can be absolutely anyone, an administrator, a coach, a cafeteria worker, teacher, whomever. If your essay is chosen and submitted by an adult who gives you permission to read it on this Wave Your Grades program, you will be awarded a monetary award. Please submit entry or inquiry to studentsforboots at gmail.com. That is STOOTSFORBOOTS, studentsforboots at gmail.com. Now back to our host, Carl Boyd.
Thank you so very, very much. And back to Paris Holly. Do you conduct teacher in services? How often do you get an opportunity to help those who
Um,
teach?
I actually have not done that before. I've tutored and I've officially started my own business for it. I have Paris Holly Education Services. So it's not something I'm opposed to doing because the older my kids get and the more independent I'm teaching them to be, I'm realizing there are some changes that need to happen. So I would be okay to work with it because that teaches me as well as teaches them. We could all grow and be better versions of ourselves. So I'm not against it.
I think that it would be very helpful because oftentimes those of us who are older or people who have done things the same way for a considerable amount of time welcome those who are more current and what you would have to help us with. It is June. This is the end of the school year. What are young people doing during the summer that might be helpful when they return in the fall?
Um, so some of my students are taking, I'm helping teach a math prep course. Um,
Oh, good.
and we're revisiting stuff that they learned throughout the year to just make sure they're sharp by the time school starts. So July is getting ready to start the month of July into the beginning month of August, right before school starts. Just making sure they're sharp, they're on point. If they have any questions, that they use it so they don't lose it, and they
Absolutely.
stay on top of their grades. Of course, sports are going. There's some programs I know with like the Boys and Girls Club, the Upper Room, where they're making sure they are doing some reading, some math, and just staying pretty active. Of course, summer school, depending on which schools offered it. And then that's all that I'm really aware of at this very moment.
Is,
So,
is there a way for someone enjoying this particular webcast, they can contact you?
yes, they could contact me via email at Paris, Paris, dot Holly, HOLLIE, the number five at gmail.com. Um, and they could also contact me at 720 320-9440 and just leave me a voice message and or a text message and let me know like, hey, I would like to either do tutoring services, um, and I will see if they fit into the schedule. If I could fit them in, I'll do it. I don't really discriminate. And if I do not know it, I have no problem saying that either. But I do have resources for people who do
Exactly.
know that. And I travel all over. There's a lot of students who I tutor out in Lee Summit. There's some I tutor in Gladstone. So as long as it's reasonable, we'll go from there. And just I try to work with people because I understand kids need help. My services are not free. I'm not. It just it's I work with you on need basis. My baseline starts off at 20 an hour because you know it just really depends on what you're working on. If it's more advanced math like calculus and things of that nature, it's a little more um, because those things are just a little bit harder and take up more time. So,
And do you travel? Most of
yes,
what
I
you
do.
would do, I would suspect, is local, but go ahead, please.
Yes, I do travel. I actually also do online tutoring. So I'm tutoring one student in California right now,
Wow.
another one in Georgia, um, and then working on getting two more people. One is in, where is it? Is it Phoenix?
My
One's in
Lord.
Arizona for
Yes.
sure. And then I don't remember where the other student is. Just and those ones, those are my adult students because they'll, well, except for the one in California, he's in middle school. Um, but that's because I have a network of people who are like, she is math.
Uh-huh.
You need help. And we're not going to act like it's not a thing. It's okay to ask for help. And
Ooh,
if you have
yes.
the resources, ask. It does not hurt to ask. No question is a dumb question, regardless if somebody likes it or not.
Now, you and I met through Valencia brought us, and
Right.
our contact is just about 100%. I think there might have been one occasion where I was at a venue, but almost 100% via this vehicle, our webcast. Are you hosting or a part of communications media similar to this?
Not really. I haven't. You are pretty much the only communications I'm on outside of Smart, and
Yes.
they're doing something. I have no problem being plugged in. Um, because I've been a member for so many years now.
Yes, indeed. That is so good.
um,
And for those of us who might be out of touch, and this does not have to be academic, this is just out of curiosity. What kinds of things are the young people doing during the summer?
um, I know some of them are going to be working with some veterans here soon. Um,
Yes.
I'm really in tune with sports right now. My kids we're
Okay.
running track and we're doing football and they're on traveling teams. So I'm learning that even 5-year-olds need IDs and physicals.
5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well,
And yeah, I'm tied into the sports side, right? Sports and education right now. That's where we're tied in. Um, I do know some students are traveling. A few students of mine got opportunities to study abroad, and so that was cool. Um, Outside of that, I'm not really sure what the kids are doing. Most
well,
of my kids are stuck with studying.
well, well, I'll tell you what's interesting about what you said as it relates to young people being into sports. One of the things we had a conversation about earlier was the fact that traditional sports, while still popular, are sometimes being replaced by uh, new sports opportunities. For instance, and I won't tell my age again, but actually, coming up, we played very little soccer, we played very little volleyball, and we
Mhm.
didn't swim a whole lot. And now young people are doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, soccer is fun. I did soccer when I was a kid. I know we have soccer. Baseball is in right now. Track is in. I didn't know a lot about track.
Yeah.
There's wrestling is getting ready to come in soon. My daughter's in. She cheers with Active Cheer. They have a summer
Okay.
program as well. What else? They just sent me an email. Honestly, I heard one of my students talking about rugby. Um,
Wow. Okay.
let's see, baseball, soccer, rugby.
Hmm.
Track has all of the stuff that comes with it. So the
Eh,
track and field, like the javelin and all
right.
of that. So that's definitely happening. And then swimming, I'm not sure about what's going on too much with that, but I know some of my friends have their kids and they're learning how to swim and they want to get into competitive swimming. There's tennis. Um, I learned racquetball, not tennis, but it's very similar.
Yeah.
I played volleyball as well. They took
My
out tetherball, so
goodness.
I don't think there's tetherball. I don't think tetherball has a thing anymore. It's where you can compete with that. Yeah, there's a lot going on, just to
Absolutely.
keep the kids involved. But what I will say is if you have smaller kids and you want them to play, probably don't like just be mindful that there's costs that are associated with it. Things
Okay.
are not free.
Yes.
Because I put my kids on traveling teams and I was not aware of what all came with this because they're on AAU teams, if I think I'm saying that
Yes.
correctly. So that's why they have to have their physicals. They have to have a state ID because they will be traveling out of town. So then they can know who they are, make sure they are truly the students that they say they are. Um, but then there's also like the boys and girls club teams where you just meet at the boys and girls club and they play
Exactly.
throughout the season. So there's options,
Uh,
but you got to
Now,
pay.
when I listen to how extensive your background is, and as a matter of fact, how extensive your current activities are, I think about a place called school. So there's the public
Mhm,
schools, there's the private school, there's the parochial school, there's the home school. There are all
mhm,
different kinds of. As a matter of fact, here was something that was new to me. When I was growing up, I went to whatever school I went to, and I played basketball at the high school that I went to, and this was traditional across Chicago. Chicago had more
mhm,
than 500 schools and 100 secondary schools.
mhm,
Now, you might have a school that emphasizes the performing arts so that there are students from other schools playing on their basketball team or their
mhm.
football team. As you work with young people at the various schools, are there some schools easier to deal with than others, or is it pretty much the same as your services complement?
It's not the same.
Uh-oh.
It's not the same. Uh, you have to really know. You have to get to know your network in the area that you're in and make
Yes,
sure that those schools are okay with it. Because I do know some of the high schoolers who we've had on the show.
yes,
They've played with other schools because that school did not offer the sport
right.
that they wanted to play, or they've had to completely, their parent has had to switch them schools because they were unable to get them into being able to play. There's different rules that come with that. And that also, we're in a situation where you have to be mindful of your area to can you play with this team or not. That's why certain like homeschool kids play AAU league because they're traveling. They're able to travel and still get that social piece that they don't get to get since they're homeschooled. Um, so that one I have to do a little bit more research into, but I know it's not always the easiest just to get them in because of certain restrictions with what's happening just within our world. We have to be very mindful of who's coming in and out of the school, what they're associated with, because we want to keep everybody as safe as possible.
The interesting thing to me is that for services you render, there are some things that simply transcend type of schools. They need tutoring in math, they need tutoring in languages, they need tutoring in finance. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
which of the schools they attend, they still have the same need. Access might require some nuance, but they still need
Yeah.
you.
So I have, even through my own research, I'm learning, one, me having my substitute teaching certification gets me in a position to come into schools. Um, so I can even render that because being able to have your substitute teaching certification, I've already undergone the background check and the fingerprinting and all of that good stuff. So then they know I am allowed to be in the school. There's no craziness on my record that says
Right.
no, this person can't be here. So just having some type of teaching credential
Yes.
is really helpful for other people who may be tutoring and want to get into that. Um, that's a easy way to get into the schools instead of just, hey, we do this and trying to push, 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 but they don't know you. They don't know if you're safe, if you're not safe. So getting your foot in the door to where you're able to talk about it. And then if you have a business card, whatever the case may be, they're able to
Yes.
reach out to you. It's like, hey, I know you do this.
You know what? And I thought about this when you were talking earlier about the young people and the range of grades you address. So,
Mhm.
how young is the youngest? How old is the oldest?
Um, Four is the youngest
Yes.
uh,
Wow.
at the moment. And that's just because of my kids were young when I was introducing them into stuff, and they
Okay.
had older friends, and their parents were like, I like this. The oldest has been, what was he, 40, I think 45,
Gee,
46.
my goodness.
I probably tutored a little older when I was tutoring at MCC Maplewood.
Okay.
It really varied. I didn't get to ask people their age there, but I do know the ages varied because they were college students. So, but I really don't have an issue, whichever it is, as long as you respect me, I respect you, and we have open, honest communication. If you do understand it, cool. If you don't, cool. So we could try to find a solution and fix the problem. I'm just here to help.
Well, one of the reasons that I was asking about your tutoring colleagues, as it were, I was blessed over a 20-year or so period to do about 65 trips a year to other venues working with educators. And you have a far more extensive background than I. And I can see
Mhm.
educators calling upon you from coast to coast simply because of understanding young people as well as you do. So rather than put it in a form of a question, I will put it in the form of a suggestion that you reach out to colleagues, that you do indeed help with in services and staff development just to help us, your colleagues, have a better understanding of students' personalities ages 4 to 40 in 2024. So that is my recommendation.
Uh, I'll do some research. I'm gonna finish my main goal in 2024 is finish my degree first.
Okay.
So I will make sure I do some research though, so I could put myself in the best position to allocate the time um, to truly know what they need and get my name out there though. So in
Yes.
2025, it'll be a smooth transition.
And it could be 2030. Whenever it is the logical time, I am suggesting to you that I believe that you would be more than ready to help those who need that kind of assistance. So please keep us in mind.
I'm gonna have to keep you in mind. I'm gonna have to ask you some questions because that's out of my realm. I'm not as aware and familiar, but I'm not against it either because the only
Well,
way to truly progress is make yourself uncomfortable.
well, I'll allow you to accept my cliche, which is it may be above my pay grade, but it is not above my pay grade. So
Oh,
we'll pray on it and see where it goes from here.
I
And
like that.
thank you. As we approach the end of the hour, what is something particular, or what are some things, plural, particular, that you want to make sure we take away from our visit this afternoon?
These kids are smart. Don't count
Ooh,
them out.
say it again.
These kids are smart. Don't count them out.
I am so appreciative of your saying that. And let me tell you why. And I'm not sure, as young as you are, you've heard it put this way because it was in the 70s that we talked about something called the cultural deficit model of teaching. And the reason we use the
Hmm.
term cultural deficit is that there are some people who approach students as if they have a deficit. So my job is to fix what's wrong with you rather than considering all that is right with you.
Right.
So you don't know how much I appreciate those words. These kids are smart.
Very much so.
Well, that needs to resonate throughout school districts, not just locally, but at least nationwide. And we thank you so very, very much for that. And
Thank you for having me, Mr. Boyd.
oh, this is our honor. And thank you for just being ready, just responding in a positive manner. God bless you, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. This has been Paris Holly, and of course, DeQuay. We will hear her again with the Smart Club, and Valencia brought us, and the other young people with whom they work. So we are blessed. Let me now turn it back over to our producer, engineer, announcer, co host. By the way, that acronym spells peach. And Quay Wilson is a real peach. Producer, engineer, announcer, co host. All right, let's turn it
I
over
love
back.
it. I love it. We would like
And here she is, DeQuay Wilson.
we would like to thank you so very much for joining us on your Stoots for Boots Wave Your Grades program. We come to you live every Saturday from 1 until 2 p.m. Central Standard Time from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center right here in Kansas City, Missouri. I am your announcer, DeQuay Wilson. Now, our host, Carl Boyd, will close with either Carl's commentary on academic patriotism or his daily message for students in honor of our veterans from his book, Morning Messages.
This is one of those rare Saturdays when I have time to do Carl's commentary and the student's message for today. And the reason I was doing that, and Sister Paris Holly, in our other meeting, had the occasion to offer a multi faith poem that I wrote in 1995. And I've changed the title, and the title is Love Required. And after it was received by the board, and as we get to the culmination of today's program, I thought, Sister DeQuay Wilson, that I might offer that and then today's message. But in that, it is because there have been people talking about multi faith opportunities versus being locked out of possibilities of loving God from another perspective. And this multi-faith poem goes like this. When I came shouting, praise the Lord, Buddha cried, please do. Allah smiled and Moses said, we praise in our ways too. Assalamu alaikum, peace, shalom, now myoho renge kyo. You love one God or witness two. I believe in the holy trio. You're not required to believe as I, but I am required to love you. Your faith is different, I know not why, but God knows. I'm not above you. Our natives honor Mother Earth, the land, the sky, the water. We all are one, the great tribes say, and so says God the Father. What teach we now, the child, unborn, innocent, till taught different? That other faiths are ours to scorn? Are we now God's equivalent? Or do we teach in word and deed based on the faiths we chose, that all the children of one seed, whatever cloth of their clothes? So when I come shouting, praise the Lord, and Buddha cries, please do, the world is then on one accord when I show my love for you. Love required. And now, to students across the USA, your Stoots for Boots message for this day, June 22nd. Someone who's just a little older than you would love to be on vacation, but they cannot take a break right now. They're protecting your education. Thank you so very, very much, Paris Holly. Thank you, Peach DeQuay Wilson, and our brother Louis George Walker. My name is Carl Boyd, gracious God and wonderful Wanda. I'm on my way home.